Alrighty, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's 6:01 PM on tonight, Wednesday, June 4th. Sorry, I'm trying to close out of, there we go. Wednesday, June 4th, the Economic Development Commission June session. We'll go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. Lori, if you don't mind taking us through roll call
I can do that. Chair Lawson,
here.
Vice Chair Barron.
Present.
Thank you. Lisa Fry,
Here.
Jacqueline Hunt.
Here, and I want to record an apology for last month. I actually had an emergency that put me in the air during this meeting.
Okay.
And it was traumatic, and so I didn't even think.
No,
You're fine.
I just want to apologize.
Thank you.
yeah,
No problem. Mike Acciardi.
Here,
There he is. Look at that handsome picture. Amy is excused tonight. David Amanor.
present.
Thank you. Amy's getting ready for the ice cream social tomorrow, so that's why she's not in attendance. Your ex officio is Counselor Katie Redding,
Here.
and we would like to welcome you, and Eric will.
yes, we'll do some quick introductions, just because especially with the first few meetings here this year, it's already June, so the first half of this year. As we've been having ex officios here who might be not as familiar with our commission, I like to just do some introductions and so you can start putting names together with faces and things like that. So as I mentioned, I'm Eric Lawson. I'm our EDC chair. I've been the chair since elected, most recently earlier this year when my term was up, and we kind of went through another phase of chair, co-chair elections.
Unanimous.
Yes.
Despite my best efforts. So I've been on the Economic Development Commission for, probably it's 2025, probably 6 or 7 years. I think it was pre-COVID, I remember. So been pretty involved, love being able to help the city and get to meet a lot of players, both in the economic space and just in the community in general. So I'll send it to Lisa.
All right, well, Katie and I were both on the budget committee recently, so we've seen each other a few times, and I actually missed the last meeting because I was out of town for work, so I don't even know the exciting outcome yet.
Excellent. We'll talk a little bit about tonight.
Okay, good, all right. And I started on the EDC with Jacqueline when we first founded, so 7 years, I think, 2018, yeah.
And Katie and I are well familiar.
And David?
Okay, I'm David Amano. I joined the committee at approximately about, I'm getting close to a year.
Yeah, it hasn't, I could look it up. It's.
Yeah, so
We're
I
coming
moved
up on 2
to
years.
North Plains about a year and a half ago. Yeah. I joined the EDC approximately about a year ago.
Okay.
And then Mike on the phone, do you mind giving yourself a quick intro?
Yeah, my name is Mike Accardi, resident of North Plains. I think I've been on the committee as a volunteer for 3 years. I think when I first started, I had kids of 2, 4, 6, 8. We appreciate. My son's 11, so yeah, 3 years.
All right, and Chris.
Hey, Counselor Redding. We've seen each other quite a bit in budget committee recently as well. Joined EDC in 2021, about a year after moving to North Plains, and been here ever since. And so is my 4-year-old tonight.
Awesome, thanks, Chris. And thanks, Mike.
And we are the most fun commission we've heard.
This is
Uh-huh.
nothing personal against anybody else. They know it's my favorite meeting of all of them.
Mhm.
And the briefest.
And that maybe that.
Especially true this evening, probably.
Yes.
We'll see, we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open up for public comment. First, Lori, anything submitted ahead of time?
Nothing submitted prior to the meeting. Are you here to make public comment?
All right, excellent. And it looks like we don't have anyone on the line other than our commission members as well. So we'll keep moving forward.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a quick comment or question not related to the agenda, so.
yeah,
Yes, yeah, so anytime I travel on it's the West Union Road.
Mhm.
I think these days I see a few companies bringing up. So I wanted to find out, do we have any requirement? I don't know about whether the council has, the city council has any requirement to for companies to employ residents of North Plains.
requirements to employ residents.
Yeah, some residents or some percentage or do a best effort to give consideration to residents of North Plains. Do we have any such thing, and if it is not there, it's a question I'm putting across for the city council to
Gotcha.
to
Explore.
consider.
Yeah, I don't, there's no formal, guidelines around that. I don't know in terms of like legalities.
Yeah,
what
and
is-
with legalities, I don't
Yeah.
think that can be a requirement of any business.
All right,
Especially for private companies.
Yes,
yeah,
I know for federal is possible, but private, I'm not sure, but I wanted to ask anyway, because it's something that had been driven into my mind, yeah.
yeah, I think it's definitely a relevant topic, is, we've talked about, ways to. Somewhat reverse the bedroom community trend, and with that would be employing city residents in businesses within city limits sort of thing, so. Definitely something, I think we can either bring or partner with city council. We do have a work session with city council that we can broach that subject, and then subject that was brought up a couple months ago was trying to get more like the younger working population, so children living at home that are of working age, how we can try to incentivize businesses in North Plains to employ the younger population as well.
Yeah, thank you for taking it up.
Of course. Okay, we'll take a look at last month. So the month of May, we met on May 7th. In the agenda packet are the meeting minutes from last month. We discussed the survey results. Survey result.
that's right.
Yeah. And discuss kind of the future with that. I chatted a little bit with Chris about this, and I think we'll take somewhat of a breather this month from the survey. We've talked about it ad nauseum in terms of what our next steps are on it, but I think we're gonna let it lie this month and pick it back up. We'll also discuss tonight if we're gonna have a meeting in July. I know it's right around the 4th, so we'll revisit that during a future meeting and try to get our plan together for that. We also discussed our quarterly update for city council. We do have a work session scheduled with city council as well, so kind of working in tandem with our quarterly update with that work session. We discussed that. Dave Vandehee was here as well to discuss promoting the businesses in the development that he has developed. Part of that is Cupayo, and Amy was able to give some input as well, so just working on things like signage improvement, exploring options for putting anchor businesses into those spaces, and potentially forming a Glencoe Corridor Business Association which is, we'll talk a little bit about that tonight, what we were hoping to focus on. And then we also had our communications marketing coordinator consultant, Therese Lang, was here to help talk about a lot of those same ideas, as well as some other ideas we could have for promoting businesses, like a business spotlight or a feature within our city communications, social media presence improvements for the businesses. So things like the EDC could help put on educational courses or training sessions for businesses to develop their social media marketing skills. And then we also talked about informational brochures, online packages, things like that with Therese. The last item from last month was the meeting protocol discussion as well. We somewhat kicked it to this month, but with Bill being out, we'll move it to another further month. We'll try to fit it in before end of the year. And just talk about a different protocol for our meetings going forward. Last item, Bill, Mr. City Manager Bill went through a few future topics to consider. So what types of businesses and industries could benefit from the grant program, the tenant improvement grant program, and expanding that, and how to ensure the improvements that are made align with some of our long-term urban renewal goals and things of that nature. So those were all the topics. It was a pretty lengthy meeting in terms of the amount of content we covered. We had a few guest speakers and things like that. So any questions or follow-ups to the items we discussed?
So some of the last items that Bill mentioned the last time, how do we make sure we get those on future agendas, like the expanding the grant program, the urban renewal and.
I can make a note right now, and
Okay.
have that be on the next agenda.
That's
Is there
okay.
anything else other than that one, or?
And then I guess is meeting protocol.
Yeah, we'll get that on.
And in relation to the communications, I remember at one of our previous meetings, we discussed this, the need for like a one-page brochure where we summarize the incentives for small businesses in North Plains. I'm not sure, where we are with that.
I know we were talking with Therese about that, like developing it in partnership with her. So I think it's probably up to us to try to drive that forward with Therese and partner with her to keep the ball rolling on that.
Okay, so it's included in that package, the communication marketing.
Yeah, we can peel it out, I think. That's kind of my purview, is if we want to focus on that, because we've talked about it a few times of different ways to help kind of tell the story and sell the city for potential businesses. But I think ultimately we can, I don't know if I have it in front of me. Do you recall, Lori, by chance, when the work session with city council is, or
July
Chancellor?
21st.
July?
I
Okay.
thought it was July 1, but I wasn't sure if it was the first meeting or the second one.
Okay, so then, well, I think what might be beneficial is to meet with city council, make sure we're aligned on our goals and what we want to move forward with on some of the marketing materials and partnering with Therese on. And then out of that, we can maybe identify like some specific goals that we can go tackle, maybe some subcommittees. I know we love our subcommittees. Although technically, would they be subcommissions now? They've grown from subcommittees to subcommissions. I want to be technically correct. They went off to school, empty nesters, anyways. Okay, any other questions? Thank you, David, for bringing that up.
So I have expanding the grant program and meeting protocol on the next agenda. And then we have the work sessions with councils on the Monday, July 21st. So that makes up for if we don't end up
Don't
doing
go
the
to
July
July.
meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we'll make a final decision tonight, but I
Yeah.
think that's.
Yeah, so that's good.
If there's no other comments or follow-ups, I'll entertain a motion.
I motion to accept, to approve the meeting minutes from last month.
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving last month's meeting minutes, say aye.
I,
All those opposed, say nay. All right, we had unanimous approval May's meeting minutes for the EDC, which means we can get into unfinished business, most of which will stay unfinished business. Item A, under unfinished business, we had planned on having Lawrence Rivera here. Lawrence visited us last month. He owns a food truck business out of Hillsborough and was able to give some insight on some of the things that have worked well for his business and areas that he's identified could help North Plains in particular, including a further discussion on a business association for the Glencoe corridor. So Lawrence obviously isn't able to make it this evening because of a scheduling conflict. So we'll go ahead and move that agenda item to a future meeting as well. Likely, I don't know about the next one. We'll have to get availability and.
Well, yeah, cause that's the week. No, that's not the week. Is that the week of Garlic Festival in August?
So, well, like it's officially next, it's
It's the one after that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we could be okay. We can always meet at the new Public Works building, cause we very seldom have anyone in attendance and we have a fairly big conference table and.
Okay.
So that's an option for a future meeting if the book sale's setting up in here.
Gotcha.
Oh, you actually are right, because the first Wednesday is the third, well, it's the third, it goes to the 30th of July, so you're right, so the first Wednesday will be the 6th, so it looks like we will be kicked out.
Yeah.
In August.
So is it technically the second weekend in August? Okay.
Right?
Yes. So
I should know.
I'll make a note to talk to Bill about scheduling the August meeting at the Kendall Public Services Building.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you. Any questions on that? I know, not everyone was able to attend last month in terms of what Lawrence discussed. A lot of it was more dialogue rather than, presentation or anything, but Lawrence does have some more formalized ideas, especially, with the old gas station space on Glencoe. And I believe that's Glencoe and
No,
Hillcrest? No,
no,
But Pacific, I guess.
Is it
I
Pacific?
guess it's Pacific.
yeah, it's Pacific.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, the gas station space.
Yeah.
And being able to use that space, at least in the interim, while, some of the more
While
long-term
brownfield.
development.
Grant is going through the process and we're not sure how long until that actually
Yes,
starts.
and that's been, I believe, since our last meeting, if anyone hasn't heard, the city was awarded the brownfield grant for, a lot of the high cost remediation work that has to go into that space with removing the soil, so that's very exciting. I'm sure it'll be a fairly slow moving process.
Right, it's federal, so it'll be extremely slow moving.
Okay. So more to come on that. Hopefully, over the next few months, we can stay stitched in with Bill and see if there's any opportunity for this group to help with anything with that grant process. Any questions on that topic of Lawrence and really just the Glencoe opportunity area in general? All right. All right, Chris, so we'll dive into the North Plains budget review and ultimately just how it impacts economic development in the city. So I can pull up the slides that Mr. Reed shared. And specifically, I'll look for the slides that you had mentioned of it was cost per household, I believe.
One second, cutting out, going through dead spot. Drive
Excellent.
faster. All right, there you go. You're cutting back in now. So I missed a little bit of what you said there, just a couple of seconds of it. Eric, if you could just repeat it again.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to make sure I have the right information pulled up so that you can talk through really just a high
Yeah.
level. Again, I don't want you to have to focus on looking at slides or anything, so.
Yes, those, I took a quick glance at it. Oh, dang it. All right, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah,
All right, give me a second. In the process of taking a quick glance, I unplugged my phone from my car speaker. Give me 2 seconds. All right.
just driving with the news.
All right, I'm man on the move today. So yeah, good news is, I'll start with the good news. Good news is the budget did pass. So at our last budget committee meeting, the budget was passed and it's now on the way to city council to be adopted. The good news about the process is the budget committee is made up of half of citizens, volunteer citizens, and then the other half is city council. So I'm feeling very positive. There's a lot of discussion, a lot of input, really a lot of great discussion and input from everyone, both the residents and the council throughout the whole process. So we got to the end, we approved it, and I'm feeling confident that it should be smooth sailing once it gets in front of them on the 16th for adoption. The biggest items I want to talk about as far as like what were some of the, I wouldn't say sticking points, but the items that really required a lot of discussion throughout this budget process. One of them is what we've talked about in the past, 24/7 police coverage for the city. And there was put into the budget a plan to make that happen this year. So in the biennium budget, we're hoping for 2025. Through great discussion and kind of compromise, we landed on 2026. So halfway through the biennium budget, in July of next year, essentially the city has the authorization within the budget, if it's adopted, to move forward with a new robust 24/7 police coverage by adding an additional FTE. So that was one of the big items of discussion, took quite a bit, because obviously finding the funds for that is a Herculean task. And then before we talk about why it's a Herculean task, the other item that came up was here, one second, I'm actually now able to park. The item was adding an FTE. It's going under the Parks Department, but I would not say it's truly a dedicated 100% parks person. The role is more of like a community engagement role. They're going to be obviously helping with parks programming, but then also at the same time, they're going to be focused on what's it called? Like community outreach, communication. So kind of taking on some of the role that Teresa's been doing. But now this person's going to be taking that role on. Here we go. Now I'm switching. So those were the good things. It did take a lot to get there, to get to a place where we said, yes, let's do this. But thankfully we found a way. But I will tell you, we did not find the money. So that's why I wanted to bring it up tonight. So this budget was passed. Rainbow. Yes, Bug, rainbow. With the caveat that there's a note being sent with the budget to City Council to essentially give them the charge to search for new revenue streams for the city. Quite honestly, the city is in a revenue issue. It's not an expense issue. And we went through the budget process. There's no waste. There's no poor spending. There's no overspending. There is strictly a revenue issue with the city, which I think this group has been aware of for quite some time. That with a tax base that's mostly built on residential taxes, it's not sustainable for the long run without significant growth. And that growth cannot just be in the residential side. It needs to also be in the business tax base as well. So, which is why we wanted to share these with you. So the slide that you're looking at now, and I'm not driving anymore, I'm actually parked, shows where we stand as far as our taxable income versus our neighboring municipalities. And as you can see, this isn't a new slide. I know many of you have been involved in the UGB, been on this. We've seen this slide before, but this is just the reality check of North Plains. We have the lowest our taxes out here are the lowest. It's great for us homeowners. I love it. But as far as running a municipality, it's not great. Even when you look at banks, they all have a local option levy that adds more to their bottom line to be able to pay for just general services that our city does not have. So that's the first slide. I just wanted to share kind of where we are in comparison to others, why it's important to grow the tax base, which is something that EDC is really charged with, is looking for ways to attract businesses, grow the economy. And this is why it's so important. And so can you switch over to the other slide? Yes, this, no, this one. So throughout the last few years, everyone's always been like, oh, well, with more residential, everything's going to work itself out in the end. And that's just strictly just not true. You look at this and North Plains, so that blue bar is the average revenue per household for the city. So North Plains average household generates about $17.85 in revenue for the city, but that each household has a cost of $18.59. So we're actually already in a deficit with every single time we look to residents to essentially foot the bill. We are already not in a place where it's sustainable. So the reason why, again, I wanted to share this is what is so important to this commission is economic development. And it's not it's not something that should be a maybe for the city. It's going to be a necessity for the city if it's going to continue to be a city in and of itself. If Bill and I had some conversations, and through those conversations, I kind of told him, I go, you're on a path to solvency if there's not going to be some major changes in the future, because right now the water fund is propping up most of the general fund. And through the budget committee process, we even from committee members, they were upset with our water rates. But the reality is that if you take those water rates down, if you stop using the water fund to prop up the general fund, this city can't pay for just basic services. I think one of the biggest things that was, I'll just be frank, frustrating to me through the process was the idea of 24/7 police coverage becoming a political issue. It came up in the second meeting, and then I went home, and as the budget committee chair, I started getting calls and text messages from residents saying, hey, do you really think we need 24/7 police coverage? And in my mind, I was just like, it's a basic service that a municipality should provide. It's not a political issue. It's not, if you were to ask me in a vacuum, hey, should any city have 24/7 police coverage or 24/7 emergency services, my response would be yes. It's just kind of in this day and age, 2025, it's a basic service provided by municipalities to make sure that we live in a safe city and have, emergency response available to us. But it's become a political issue because we have a revenue issue. And so when you look at how much of the general fund is being used by public safety, it's, Bill and I talked about it, and I go, yeah, Bill, it's going to be a big percentage because it's a small pool of money. It's a small pool of money, and the reality is we need to grow the pool of money to shrink that percentage. That's the real issue. It's the largest expense, but it's a fixed expense. It's not one that is frivolous either, but it's so large because we have such a revenue issue with the city. So that's why I wanted to share with this group tonight is, there's some positives, but there was a push to move forward with that budget. And with that budget, it comes with a very big charge to our elected officials to start looking for new revenue streams to pay for these services, whether that's a local option levy, fee on the water bill, or, the one that we've been focused on for years is just growing the city naturally to grow the tax base by bringing in diverse businesses to really prop up that tax base with some strong business tax income. And so just wanted to share that with everyone tonight through the process. And then also just, if anyone has any questions about how the process has been or any other items that came up through budget committee, this is, I think, the group that focuses on growing the tax base. And so I thought it would be great to share with all of you. And that's all I got.
Awesome, thank you. How, in terms of, I was just looking at the members, did it feel like a good breadth of citizen membership in terms of different viewpoints and being able to hear different perspectives?
Yeah, I'd say it was truly it was a great, I think everyone had different perspectives. Everyone came really engaged. So there was a lot of discussion. I wouldn't say there was any heated discussion. I'd say there was differences of opinions and different ideas, but I mean, every single night throughout that process, I walked away feeling like, man, this is great engagement. I just love hearing people, actually share ideas and be engaged. And yeah, there's a diverse group. We had some folks that I haven't seen before in other city venue, like in other city meetings present this time, and they had good input. I mean, really, I could not have asked for a better committee to serve alongside. They just did a great job of working through the process, looking for options, and yeah, I think it was great. I think everyone had really good insight.
Thank you. Lisa, how about you? I know.
It was, at least I missed the last one, but I felt like great discussion and everyone was really respectful of each other. And yet people had very different viewpoints, but still really respectful and listening to each other. And personally, I think this is a great outcome to not, for us not to decide, well, at the budget committee, not to decide how it's gonna be funded, but to say, hey, city council, you are the ones to decide how to fund this.
Yeah, was
Yeah.
that much like, I know you mentioned the levy and different options, water fees and whatnot, how in depth were those discussions on potential options?
Yeah, so those discussions really, even though we had to rein it back in, because those kind of got into the scope of policy discussions, which is inevitable when you have half of the committee is the elected officials, that their role is to lead policy. So they're coming to that meeting with the mindset of their elected officials. They can do policy changes to kind of make these things a reality, and so they came up in discussion quite a bit. But that is not the role of the budget committee, so we had to keep bringing it back in and just saying, hey, this is not really the time or the place to discuss this. This needs to be discussed at council. But what was discussed and the feeling in the room was it's not going to be an easy task ahead. I think there's the idea of the fee on the water bill was not, I would say, received with open arms, and everyone's like, yeah, this is great. There's a lot of pushback on that. And then the local option levy was actually more of the positive side of things. I think the comments that stood out to me were, hey, the city's, demographic has changed. There's a lot more new residents, and what didn't pass a couple years ago might pass now. And so, especially with the focus of adding this FTE of this person in the parks department that's going to be supporting communication and outreach, if there's a strong plan in place and the city council's behind it, and they're going to be, championing this, if we go the route of local option levy, they're going to be championing it. I'm feeling positive that there will at least be, we're going to put our best foot forward if that's the option that goes forward, and just try really hard. And everyone's kind of linking arms that that's going to be the path forward. My own personal opinion, I don't see our council, and Councilor Redding obviously jump in and cut me off if I'm over speaking, but I don't think that they're going to go towards the route of the water fee. It just seemed through comments that wasn't the thing that they were the most excited about.
Councilor Redding, do you have any input?
Say anything?
Yeah.
I don't wanna speak on behalf of everybody, but I mean, that's why I kind of just brought up the town hall at the last city council meeting and how I'm really pushing for that, so we can really engage and get everybody here and have that great conversation like we had on the committee. Even though I know we got into policy, I mean, we uncovered a problem with this idea, and then, from there to there to there, and it was just one of the best conversations I feel like this city has had a long time. So I would love to get that again at a town hall.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say one way or the other,
Right. Yeah.
And interestingly, that we did not have much public comment, which surprised
No.
we would have a lot, and we didn't. And one other thing I was gonna add on the levy is it would be, if we were just trying to fill the gap, it would be a smaller levy than was proposed in the election a couple years ago.
Okay.
Is the two proposed positions on hold until revenue, is it like normal business? Positions approved, but not until revenue is identified?
Well, no,
No.
because it's, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna
Well-
say the one for the additional FTE for the police, the main question that I asked in the last budget committee meeting was because the reality is the budget just authorizes the ability to spend. It does not require the spend, and it does not require, we go out and add the FTE. So the question I asked Bill was, when does that contract have to be signed? And that contract doesn't have to be signed until July of next year, which is when they would want to add the additional police FTE. So with that one, the council still has about a year to identify that revenue stream to essentially be able to fund that new position. And they also still have the ability up until then to pull the ripcord on it too and send it back to the budget committee to essentially just say, hey, we're going to make an adjustment to this if no revenue stream's been identified.
How about the other FTE?
The other FTE isn't as much of an impact because what they've done is they've essentially reduced outside services. So the planning, is it the planning position, Lori, that's going away?
Yes,
The city planner?
Bill made the decision to let the city planner go as of June 30th.
Yeah, so the city
Because we
planners,
have no space for building anything or, there's no planning once Bryn Hill's done. And so, like I said, he took that position out and is gonna fill it with this full-time communication / parks program developer. It's kind of is that what?
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
So I think not feeling like I clearly, can the city hire before the revenue is there? To
No,
fund the
for the
positions?
police?
For either of the.
Well, the revenue is there for this FTE with communications.
Not if there's not a balanced budget is not there.
He balanced that position out by taking the planner out.
But if the whole budget doesn't balance,
So for
then the
year-
revenue is
For
not
year
there.
one, it does balance. Right,
Yes.
correct?
correct. For
Yeah.
year one, it does. And then there's the charge to essentially say, hey, something needs to be identified by next year if we're going to add this position. And so, can
So it
they
does-
authorize it?
And the
Yes.
police. Okay, thank you. That was not clear to me previously,
Yeah.
so thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, now if they come up with some kind of revenue source before then it can be back on the table. It's my understanding. Is that correct, Chris?
Yes.
Will
It
come-
would have to go back to if they identify a revenue source sooner than later and say, hey, guess what? We can actually fund it for the full biennium. Then what happens is anything over 5% change for the budget then triggers essentially another budget committee meeting where there's an addendum to the budget that needs to be reviewed, approved by budget committee, and then adopted by city council. And so, yeah, that's kind of the beauty of the budget is it is a working document that can be changed. There's procedures and process for it. So if the revenue is identified sooner, they can obviously go, city council can tap us to say, hey, budget committee needs to reconvene, make changes, make an amendment, and then send it back to council for adoption. And then it's the same thing on not spending money as well. But yeah, I mean, this was to share with this commission because, I mean, at the end of the day, the reality for the city is it does need to grow economically just to provide basic services for the citizens that live here. I mean, that's just the harsh reality is it's not, do we get a mega city hall? Do we get does Bill have 10 assistants? That's not what it is. It's just to function as a city and to provide basic services to the residents of North Plains. This city must economically grow.
Cool. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
And thanks, Lisa, too,
Sure.
for participating on the
Sure.
committee and Councilor Redding as well. I know it was probably it got to interesting conversations, but probably pretty dry before that.
First.
Yeah.
Say,
That is Portland's 12-hour one though.
Oh, geez.
So,
I can say in the almost 9 years that I've been here, this has been the most engaged group. Some really good discussion. Again, everybody was very diplomatic and, you know, this stuff can get a little heated at times and I was very impressed. Out of the, like I said, almost 9 years that I've been here, it was excellent.
That's great.
And Chris, a quick question. I know what you are presenting, the slide you have displayed is like a big picture view, but I want to find out which of these items, do we have an item here? Like an assignment for the council and the subcommittees? Or which of the items here?
I think this is just the actual.
Numbers.
Yeah, for, you know, salaried and benefit for the actual, but yeah, public safety.
Yeah, so
Oh.
what you're looking at, the slide you're looking at now is just honed in specifically on the additional FTE added to the police.
Good.
That pie chart one
Good.
might be a good
Good.
one.
So it's the
I was gonna
sum.
say, yeah, the pie chart one would be a good thing for this. So again, you look at that and you're like, man, 50% is public safety. But again, a lot of bit of a, or a little bit of a very small pool, or a lot of a small pool is always going to be a big percentage. And that's just the biggest issue is to shrink that. It's not a matter of spending less on public safety. It's a matter on growing the tax base. So that number just automatically shrinks itself.
Right,
Yeah,
right now the water,
I think I get it from the pie chart you show. I see 4.5% boss and commission. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, the water fund basically helps to feed the public safety and the other funds, except for the library. The library pretty much does its own thing, and we should be getting more money from WCCLS starting next year. I think the levy isn't until, until next November, I think. Anyway, but they have been having long meetings about it and kind of remarking the boundaries of the funding. Because North Plains has never gotten a fair share of the funding, and that's going to change, which is huge. Robin's so excited. She's jumping up and down. So, but yeah, the public safety, a lot, like I said, the water fund is basically helping with all the other funds to make sure that we're not going in the hole.
Right.
So.
Thanks, Marge.
Mhm.
You can tell Bill to stay home for future meetings. You got it covered.
I'm kind of surprised he's not on, except he really has not felt good.
Yeah.
today, So I hope he's getting some rest.
Yeah, but if he watches this recording, just know, Bill.
Right.
Alrighty, any other questions then on?
Yeah, I think I have
Yeah.
a second question.
Yeah.
Since we are talking about budgets and this is EDC meeting, I wanted to find out this year, do we have any plans for some, like a proposed budget for the EDC?
Yeah, did you make it rain for us?
Yes.
We
Yes.
talked briefly about it, I think last meeting.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys would know the specifics or if I can.
But all, that little pie that's 4.5%, that's boards and commissions, that's spread out amongst EDC, planning, parks and rec. I think that's the only three. I think the library funds their own stuff for that, but there's money in there for trainings that you guys want to go to. That's the most important part. Bill always wants to get money in there, so if you guys want to go to,
League of
Salem's,
Organs or
League of Oregon Cities, State of Oregon conferences, there's money in there for any of you guys to go to that.
Okay.
Any of them. You just have to, you kind of have to be aware of them because we don't always get notifications of all of them. I think sometimes Bill gets them, sometimes I get them, and every once in a while we both get them. So I try to send out what I know might be appropriate for each board and or commission. But just know that there is funding in there for you guys to benefit from, you can benefit from the funding.
That's also where, like, we talked last time about what would it look like to have someone come in and like train the local businesses on like social media campaigns and marketing. That's also where those dollars would come from. So there is some money set aside. I think it's under professional services, which is
Yes.
essentially that would be us hiring like a consultant to put on a training session for the local businesses to help them essentially grow. So we do have money for that. We haven't historically spent it. So after it gets adopted on the 16th, we can spend it start in July. So I would say some of the ideas that we've had, there's money for it. And so it's just time to get those plans into motion.
It kind of stuck with me after our meeting last month. I really think the idea of putting on some type of workshop to promote, like building the tools for our current businesses for like social media marketing and even just like search engine optimization, some of the like tangible tools that they can learn and then take back and continue using instead of, I mean, the analogy of like teach a man to fish sort of thing, instead of giving them some type of grant or anything like that, trying to use some of those funds for like workshops. So I really I know Therese had some contacts that she has worked with before on different consultants that we could bring in. So I think that would be some low hanging fruit that would bring a lot of value. Pursue that.
If it's costly, is there an option to like reach out to banks and share,
That's a good question.
with
Yes,
them?
we
Have we done
talk
that
about
before?
sharing that kind of stuff all the time, and Bill has a very good working relationship with the city manager of banks. So that is definitely a possibility, and same with Cornelius, he has a really great relationship with the city manager of Cornelius as well,
That's a really good idea.
so.
Well, and depending on our comms, parks, they might be able to, have some insight into that.
Yeah.
Depending on when they get hired.
Yeah.
Cause I think Bill said it might not be till October.
Right,
Started.
he did say that it will probably, that position probably won't be filled until closer to the end of the year.
Okay.
Right now, we're gonna be focusing on, getting a finance person. Cause I don't wanna see Bill have to go through this process by himself again, just about killed him. And then, we do have, a public works position too. I think one for sure that we have to fill, someone's leaving, so.
Okay.
Those are gonna take priorities.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could definitely be an opportunity if someone's stepping into that parks communications role, which is such a unique role. Has there been any discussion on what type of experience the city?
There has been, and actually Counselor McCall Wallace, has talked to, Bill about it, because she was in charge of the arts program in Hillsborough, and so she's kind of got that groove about
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, and so she's already talked to him about how to go about, what skills we need to look for, and
Yeah.
obviously, it's kind of an interesting mix of skills to have the communications part and the programming part,
Yeah.
but they're gonna go for it, so. Yeah,
Excellent. Yeah, good questions, good points. Anything else here on the budget topic?
Thank you, Chris and Lisa and Katie for all your work.
Yeah. It's good stuff, building the future. That's my homework.
Did you want us to help you?
Yeah.
we better get it done now, cause a couple more weeks, you won't have time to get it.
Well, I won't be working, so I'll be just fine. All right, as I mentioned, item C of unfinished business, we're gonna move up to our next session, likely in August, to just rehash some of the meeting protocol. And that really was it for unfinished business. As I mentioned, we'll reschedule our guest speaker. And we'll have our work session with city council late July. So I think we can discuss our next meeting. I think we'll cancel our July 2nd meeting in preparation or in lieu of having our work session with city council later that month. And then we would have a August meeting, I suppose, a couple of weeks after that. Work session with council, so any issues with canceling the July standard session? Do I need a formal motion to approve a
Just the
cancellation?
consensus that everybody's good with not holding the the July 2nd meeting.
Okay, I'll ask then, all those in favor of canceling the July 2nd meeting, say aye. And all those, all those opposed of canceling the meeting, say nay.
Okay, so consensus to cancel the July meeting, and we will take the July 21st work session in its place.
Yep.
And then what, like I said, I'll talk to Bill about the August meeting of having it
Okay.
at our new building.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great, and I haven't even seen the space, so I think.
Yeah, and that's,
to get
we've,
in there.
we've done that with a couple things. We've invited groups in that haven't seen it, so I were you weren't even at the grand opening, were you in the Public Works building?
Yeah.
You were?
Both of us were there.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, it's a blur to
It was
me.
a lot of
It was really moving.
There was a beautiful blur, it was great, but, we do like to have people come see it.
It's fancy.
Yeah.
Is there an opportunity to host meetings in there permanently, or is it just a ad hoc space?
It's an ad hoc space. Bill has mentioned that at times, but that room only, the conference room itself, I think it fits 12 at the table.
Okay.
And right now, we don't even have, we still have to get a big screen for the wall and, all the technology
Yeah.
stuff, so it's kind of. I'm not sure how we'll do with the meeting
Okay,
in August. That's why I need to talk to him, since we don't really have that kind of equipment in there yet,
no worries,
so.
we can play that by ear.
Yep.
All right, any other topics then? I'll kind of do a quick around the room, just make sure everyone is doing all right. Any topics we want to discuss?
Yes, I do have one request from at least those of you that maybe I can email online.
Mhm.
Last time when they came in from Roll Tide, I mentioned, hey, we could at least put up something at the ice cream social saying, these are our local businesses, do you know?
Right.
And I'm very last minute, and I'm not a graphic designer but I did put together at least a list of, I'm trying to capture they eat and play locally. So I put together a list. On your way out, would you members mind looking and see if I got everything? And I'm trying to star the ones that are locally owned to come on. So tell me if I'm wrong or missing, especially Jackie, you probably know a lot of what's locally owned and not.
I don't know.
I mean, some of the older ones.
I would take it to Marty. Can you know, I mean. So yes, I know people who know.
And I can always email it. Yeah, and I know this is tomorrow night, so this is very last minute. But I'd like, at least like to put up some kind of signage about it, just to try to help our businesses.
Mhm.
If it works well, maybe we can do it again at the car show in July and
Yes.
then at Garlic Fest in
Um,
August.
Are you having a tent or
And like,
this?
probably in this case, just an easel, because we don't have someone to man a table.
Okay,
Ideally, it would be great at Garlic Fest or something to have someone man at least.
yeah, because we like to use these tables and have the skirts,
Mhm.
so that people know who it is.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
so maybe future event, I didn't organize enough that it has
That's
on
okay.
this one,
yeah,
but at least, can I put up a sign that says North Plains EDC or Economic Development?
absolutely,
Okay.
yeah,
All right,
yep.
yes,
Just an idea for your future table is to get like Capillo stickers, and if anybody has brochures and kind of.
Sounds actually, if I had, well, if we could all enlist for the next time, maybe we can all reach out to some, divide and conquer and reach out to some of the
Mhm.
businesses. I just, based on time limitations, I didn't do
Yeah.
that, but I think I totally agree. That would be the ideal situation.
So upcoming city events, there's always a 4th of July parade. The
Mhm.
car show is July
20,
23rd, 28th. It's
maybe, yeah, I think that last.
maybe the last Saturday of the month.
I think you're right.
And then always the Garlic Festival and
How would that go with Cindy's chamber table? Cause she does some, so just like thinking it in with her, cause she knows, and sometimes she's doing things that also are promotional, so.
Let me send her a message.
Send her,
tonight
and
and
just give her
a
a
heads
stick
up.
with
yeah.
her.
Yeah, and I passed it by the NPEA, but just so Cindy knows.
Right.
because
And
they-
then National Night Out, actually, that's a lot in a short area. Because we moved National Night Out to July 31st
Oh,
because
wow.
of the Garlic Festival. Usually it's we do it a day ahead of everyone else in the country. Because that way we get Washington County equipment and officers and horses and dogs and everything, and because we don't have to fight everybody else for them on the same day. So we usually have it on Tuesday or Thursday, can't remember which one. And this year it'll be actually the end of July instead of normally the August.
So
date.
it's on the July 31st.
Yeah,
Which is a Thursday, and it's National Night Out,
yeah,
but it's not really National Night, it's
it's North Plains
it's
Eve, it's North
North
Plains
Plains-
National
National
Night
Night
Out.
Out.
Communicated with the White House and moved national.
Yeah, the actual, the nationwide one is the following Wednesday. But that's Garlic Festival week, so we
Okay.
can't.
I can't wait for the banner of National Night Out and in parentheses for North Plains.
Yeah. We don't, we just use national.
When you understand the benefit of getting those,
The resources.
Oh, the
Yeah.
kids just love the equipment and
Yeah.
like I said,
seeing the guys dressed up.
yeah, every couple of years we get the horses. The last few years I've put in a personal request and we've gotten Radar, the dog that has 1 million followers on social media, cause I love Radar.
I'm like looking that up right now.
Yeah, so. And we usually get, the boat that they use at Heg Lake, and then TVFNR has equipment. We give out bike helmets
Oh, right.
for free.
Yeah.
Knights of Pythias provide bikes and helmets for anybody that wants them. I think it's hot dogs, right?
Mhm.
Hot dogs and
Yeah.
cookies. I
And
think.
Yeah.
ice cream, I think, or like a
Some-
popsicle.
Yeah, something anyway. And we always have a great turnout, and that would be another, opportunity to maybe invite some of the local businesses to come.
Mhm.
Ideally, that kind of event, it would be great to have Capillo there. It would be great to have the Happy Place. Happy Play Place, is that right?
Yep.
Because so many kids come to this event. It's just huge for the kids. And so, those are the kind of businesses that it would be great to see especially at National Night Out.
Yeah.
Almost like an opportunity vendor event in the back, in the green area.
Yeah,
Yeah. Close to-
I mean, I think we can pretty much go as big as we want with that event. The only thing, I swear, every year, it's like the hottest day of the year when we have, it's like.
Well,
100
tomorrow looks like 85 degrees, so we're gonna have plenty of heat. for
Yes.
The ice cream social, it looks like.
Do you have enough scoopers?
Yes, and thank you, all three of you.
Good.
You will be volunteering. And also Michael is volunteering. So I think we've got enough.
Great.
2 shifts. But thank you so much for helping out tomorrow.
And I saw an email from Cindy with some, you have to complete it.
You can't do the chamber table. You have to come scoop ice cream.
Okay, there are two different things, right?
Yeah, they're trying to find people to man the chamber table as well.
Get it,
Don't give in to Cindy, David.
Stand your ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
get it.
Well, might be very persuasive.
jealous, so if you need another.
She can
scooper,
absolutely
she-
come, because I think we have 5 for the first shift and 5 for the second, so there is plenty of need if, yes. Yeah, bring her along.
I told her I would sacrifice my scooper for her.
You guys can take breaks. 'cause it's,
Be sure to wear your name tags too.
Yes, and wear your name tag, bring an apron if you want. And by the way,
I think that we provide gloves.
gloves and, yeah, gloves and scoops.
Yeah.
And did any of you go last year?
Oh,
Yeah.
So crowded.
it was huge because it was the anniversary thing. No,
That was 2 years.
that was 2 years ago. Last year we had Was that the
Was there
year that we
music on the
had?
street last year?
There was, but
Yeah.
it wasn't I don't think it was the anniversary.
No,
I wouldn't be surprised if we get extra people at Jackie.
Yep, so we'll
Um,
probably have quite a crowd.
well, and, the music is Jackie Rohr. So that'd probably be a big draw.
So it might be a few out of towners who are coming for ice cream tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can I see your water bill, please? Okay, thank you, vanilla and chocolate, yeah. Awesome.
So great, sounds like you're all set
Yes,
up for
thank you,
that.
everybody.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'll bring together at least something really basic, but let's work on improving what we have for the next event and reaching out to the businesses if they want to do a giveaway or a flyer or something.
Mhm. Some type of swag or.
Yeah, yeah, that's always a good,
Yeah,
Water bottle stickers. they're called.
good motivator.
Yeah, so for sure.
yeah.
Oh, that's actually great. Yeah, I go, I've got room on mine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, excellent.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Lisa. Appreciate it. Counselor Redding, anything from your side? I like to ask our ex officios for any words of wisdom before we depart. So no pressure, no
Way
pressure.
to put her on the spot.
Oftentimes it's wise and brief, but
Well, thanks. That's no, I'm assuming you guys have gotten the, council pillars, at some point
Mhm.
come down. Budget's coming down.
Yeah.
You guys are doing great work.
we're looking forward to next month's working session. I think that'll help to help kind of bring city council up to speed on what we've been working on the past few years, and then also align us on some of the things that we want to go accomplish.
Something I've been throwing around just in my head,
Mhm.
nothing to do with council,
Mhm.
but our motto, city to the sunset. How is that helping our businesses? And I just was trying to find Hillsborough's like slogan, and I don't know if it's I have no idea what it is, but I'm trying to think. Rebranding our city to be more business friendly, or so businesses can play off of it, is something I've been throwing around in my head, and I don't know if it's crazy or what, but.
We've talked about that, since COVID, we've talked to other cities that have done it. It's not to dissuade anybody, it's extremely expensive to rebrand your city, extremely expensive, ridiculously expensive. But that's not to say, I mean, I think Lincoln City did it.
Is that like the expense portion is to hiring a consultant to properly do it, or it's actual like,
That's part of it, but then you have to,
You have to touch everything.
yeah, you,
like all of these skirts and
yeah,
signage?
unless we kept the same logo, but everything.
Right,
Basically, you're starting from scratch if,
Yeah.
for a true rebrand, which is, some businesses do it. After 20 years, they know they're stale and they need to perk things up, and so cities feel the same way,
Yeah.
And like I said, Lincoln City did, or it was either Lincoln City or Newport, because they brought some of the stuff to the OMR conference, and they did a fabulous job, but she did say that it was
Yeah.
very spendy, so.
That's a great point, though. I mean, I think City to the Sunset, just by its association with, you have to drive to the sunset to get out here, it kind of,
It's what pulls people in, and I don't know what our top. Vineyards or, it used to be the pumpkin patch, like what our draw would be, but, then you would have a play structure that would be train themed and, so forth and so on, and things
Yeah.
that would.
Sure.
Our businesses could play off of
an elephant.
or be attractive.
Oh, that's true, yes.
That's a great point, though. Thank you.
Tuck it in the back pocket for the 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Anything to bring people.
See, that was very brief and wise. So delivering every time. Okay, any other topics, questions from the group here while we adjourn? We went a whole hour, so look at us go.
Yeah, good job.
You've got a lot covered.
Yeah, we did. Thanks,
Lot of
Chris,
good
again
discussion.
for your discussion input on the budget. Appreciate it.
Yep, happy.
All right, we'll go ahead and adjourn 7:06 PM. Thank you, everyone. Good night.